Hello and welcome back. I'm happy you're here. In this video, I'm working on a mixed media project and I figured I'd show you my process. Now, I've been paper crafting for years and have just recently started delving into the world of mixed media. And mixed media is really just mixing up a whole bunch of different textures, techniques, and medias to create a project. So the first thing I'm doing is adding some texture paste through a stencil in the center. So this is actually a translucent grit paste that I'm adding at this point. And then I'm going to let it completely dry. So the next paste I'm adding is some Crackle paste, and I'm using this Moroccan Tiles stencil. So I'll add that in a few places and once again let it dry completely before proceeding. And the last paste that I am using in this project is just some regular texture paste, and I'm just using it with my palette knife. I'm not going to use a stencil with it. And then once again, once I've put it where I want it to go, I need to let my paste completely dry before. Once the pastes are completely dry, I'm going to use a variety of color sprays to color them. Now, I started with a panel that I had collaged some collage paper in on the top right and the bottom, sorry, the top left and the bottom right. In the end, you actually don't see this collage paper, so if you're going to use that, definitely make sure that you keep it visible while you're working. I kind of forgot it was there, and then after a while realized you couldn't see it. So I'm tilting my canvas just to spread around the color sprays. Any of the parts that get a little bit too heavy, I do use some paper towel to pick it up. And then I'm also using a brush to help move it around. Once I have the sprays how I like, I am going to just let it completely dry before moving on. In this project, I'm using a few different die cuts to have as a focal point in the center. So right now I am cutting up the small butterflies out of watercolor paper. I already have my large butterfly cut out of watercolor paper, and I'm going to use those same distress sprays that I used on my panel to color in my die cuts so that the colors completely coordinate. I ended up deciding that my butterflies didn't pop out enough, and I thought by putting some vellum behind them, that might help. So my small butterflies, there's a die for that. The large one, there isn't, so I'm just tracing it around, and I'm going to hand cut the piece of vellum for behind it. Next, I'm just using some StazOn ink with a script stamp to add a little bit of visual texture to the background, just using the black stamp pad and the stamp. To add some metallic accents, I'm using some foundry wax. I'm just spreading it around the butterflies with my fingers, and then I'm also going to spread it around the edge of my art panel, as well as on a little bit of the texture paste, just to add some metallic touches to that as well. In order for the leafing from the foundry wax to come to the surface, you need to use a heat gun, and it just looks like embossing, except the reaction happens a lot quicker. In order to make my butterflies pop a little bit more, I die cut some leaf shapes out of some copper paper and added those behind it. And now I'm just using some gloss sprays and splashing some splatters all over my piece. To give some glossy texture to the center of the butterflies, I'm just adding some glossy accents and then letting that dry completely. I also use some copper stickles around some of the butterfly wings just to add a little bit of sparkle. before I finish the project, don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell notification to be notified of more videos. In the end, I decided I wanted the center to be a little bit darker and the outside to be a little bit lighter. So I'm using that same Moroccan tile stencil, and I'm going to stencil some white paint around the edges just to lighten the edges a little bit.